is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
African music is exploding onto the world stage. Never before have African artists been as in demand as they are now. The continent's distinctive sounds are taking the world by storm. This includes Afrobeats, Amapiano, Afropop and Gengetone, among others. African music streams and content were at an all-time high in 2021 on all streaming platforms. Afrobeats in particular is making its influence felt across the globe as the continent's musicians start reaching a new international audience. In the same year, we saw Nigerian superstars Wizkid and Tems making history, with Essence becoming the first Nigerian song to break the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, as well as that record becoming the first platinum Afrobeats record. So this week on the program, we look into why this is happening now, the evolution of African music, and whether Afrobeats is stifling the growth of other musical genres in Africa. I'm Beatrice Marshall. Welcome to Talk Africa. Well, joining me now is Ghanaian singer, songwriter, record producer, and two-times Grammy nominee, Rocky Dawumi. Welcome to the program, Rocky, and thank you for joining us today. Well, let us start way back on how you got into music, because a military band performing one of Bob Marley's compositions in Michel Camp in a military barracks where you were growing up, that inspired you. What are your reflections on this moment, looking back many years ago?
When I was growing up, there was, as a child, I was a very curious child. And I felt also that anytime I heard music or traditional cultural gatherings, I was very, very attracted to it, And melody also was something that appealed to me. So I'll be listening to, whether it's, traditional music from my hometown or music that I found within the military barracks, because the military barracks too was kind of a plural environment where you had people from different tribes. So you were constantly being exposed to all that cultural richness. And then once I also started seeing the military band play contemporary music too, I gravitated towards that and started spending a lot of time there. So I was learning and emulating all the music that was being played there, because they played cover tunes. So from reggae music to Afrobeat to high life music, where all the kind of styles of music that I was exposed to. So that became a big inspiration for me. And hearing Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Fela Kuti, high life musicians like Nana Mpedu, Eddie Donko, all of these guys became the foundation of my music. And I think that is very apparent in my ability right now to kind of present a much more broader range of African music and contemporary music.
So what was it that inspired you in the music? Was it the message in their songs, or was it the beat?
Yeah, it was the message at first, For me, I feel that there's something special about the ability of music, not only to communicate, but to also touch something deep in our nature. And every culture, if you go to every culture, music plays such a meaningful role. So I feel that it's a glue that connects, our human nature. And when that is also, shall I say, infused with messages and information that ends up enriching our experience, I feel it helps lift, our vibration and also help build connectivity. So that ability of music was what really attracted me. So I was attracted to Fela Kuti because of his messages. I was attracted to Bob Marley because of his messages. And that became a defining part of my connection to music.
So, Rocky, you're a renowned singer, songwriter, record producer. Your signature Afro root sound is a mixture of reggae, Afrobeat, high life, and soul music. Talk to us briefly about this journey. What is Afro roots? I mean, where do you place it in the genre of music?
Well, Afro roots is part of, shall I say, the modern genre of music. Music is evolution, and every style, to some extent, becomes a reflection of a generation. And I feel that we build upon, the places that we get our inspirational springs from. So I grew up on Afrobeat, reggae music, high life music. So I was not, my style and my perception of how music is was not genre specific. It was a combination of all of these. So to be able to be an artist that speaks and sings my truth, it became something that was had the rhythmic aspects of Afro roots and high life music, had the visionary aspect of reggae music,
Right.
and then also the pop elements of the global sounds that I was exposed to. So for me, that's what Afro roots is. It's steeped in Africa, African grooves, African rhythms. But at the same time, too, it has a mission and a vision that is global, and also to connect people to that essence and the fundamental elements that make music a force for the greater good. So that's how I see what Afro roots is. It's a combination of my influences: high life music, Afrobeat, and reggae music, and at the same time infused with powerful messages.
Well, Nigerians though have taken Afrobeat and owned it, and you've previously been quoted saying it is important for Ghanaian artists, where you come from, to carve their own niche in the international market. Why is that?
Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent. Africa is a place of diversity, cultural diversity, musical diversity, rhythmic diversity. So we can't only take one sound that defines the continent. The continent has enough sounds to infuse many generations of musical movements. So I feel that, and Ghana has also always been a place where even the bigger global sounds, the sounds that have become global, have had their inception and incubation in Ghana, and then it's globalized. Sounds like Afrobeat, and even Fela spent a lot of time in Ghana, in terms of Ghanaian high life, which was the foundation
Right.
of Afrobeat, mixed with jazz. And then the modern variant of Afrobeat also has its inception in styles like Azonto that were incubated and popularized from Ghana. So the thing is that it's a cultural interchange within the continent itself, and I feel that for Africa to put its big imprint on the world, and for the world to feel the energy of Africa, we have to be free to show all these dimensions of popular music that are part of Africa, and not only one element. One element, great. Afrobeat is breaching, it's at the forefront right now. But before that, you had Fela's style, you had Mbalax, Yusundo, you had all of these other
Right.
artists and myself who have created the grounds and also broken different grounds within the popular musical world. So we have to embrace new sounds, and artists have to be brave enough to innovate and not necessarily be followers of sound. And I believe that's what defines African musicians. We are innovators, and we're going to keep instilling that spirit of innovation. So that's why I tell people that you don't have to just be a follower. You just have to accept what is trending, what is the order of the day, but at the same time, you have to stamp your individuality and also your cultural uniqueness as part of this.
Right. I want to go back to what you have said in a previous interview as well, where you said African music has always had power. I mean, and you talk with passion about that. Talk to us about the role the internet has played in democratizing music distribution and eliminating gatekeepers.
You only have to listen to or read a history of popular music to know that the imprints of the children of Africa who were through slavery and other things, were relocated into the Caribbean, Brazil, all of these places, and took that element of traditional African music, morphed it with their environment and styles, and created styles that have impacted popular music, from rock music to reggae music to jazz. All of these were people of African descent who created it. But then the thing is that all of this music too blows right back to the continent, and that if we also take it and reorganize it in a way that makes sense to us, and then we put it right back again. So I feel that that cycle, is something that has given us the opportunity right now with the tools that
Right.
we have, which is modern distribution tools, has eliminated what we had to do first, like go into the geographic area in order for us to be able to make impact. Now you can create your own music and be able to disseminate it. You release a song tonight, by the following day it's on every channel for people to hear. So it's made our music right now more peer-to-peer than going through institutions and gatekeepers in order for it to be, experienced. So we have an opportunity now to really impact in a bigger way. And I think that the democratization that came through the internet, the ability to be able to connect on a bigger scale has helped African music right now to be unstoppable.
Let's talk about the Grammys very briefly before I let you go, because branches of the same tree and voice of Bunborn Volume 1 have earned you a Grammy nomination.
Oh,
How do you feel
yes.
about this?
The 2016 nomination was actually Best Reggae Album. And then the current Voice of Bunborn was Best Global Music Album. But the thing is that my music has always represented that diversity. So it's a fusion-based style with message and all of that. But I think, the thing is that I was always grouped in the reggae world, but I represent African music, global sounds, and I feel that this nomination was a better reflection of the style, the Afro root style, and its global nature, that it's not steeped in only reggae music, but also a sound that is global. And I feel it's also a validation of the impact that this sound has been making and the impact that Ghanaian music has been making. And overall, it also harkens us to the golden age of African music right now, being at the shores of every nation and every country, bringing that ancient yet modern sounds to, for a time when the world needs, diverse sounds of healing that are coming from different places to help us deal with the magnanimity of the issues that we are all going through. I feel that music is that force. And for me, playing positive music and using context of African rhythms that are steeped in the old and at the same time to making a play for the future is a requirement of the times.
Rocky Dawune, thank you so much for speaking to us today. It's such a great pleasure. Well, on that note, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll have more on African music on the global stage with our panel of experts. Stay tuned. Well, let's now bring in our panel of experts. Joining in Lagos, Obi Asika, Africa cultural expert, founder and CEO of Storm 360. In London, via Zoom, DJ Abbas, DJ and media and entertainment consultant. And in Johannesburg, Wouter Kellerman, Grammy Award-winning South African flautist, producer and composer. A warm welcome to you all, and thank you very much for joining us in this discussion. Obi, if I may start off with you, 2021 seemed like an incredible and record-setting year for the African music industry. Now, Nigerian sensations such as Burna Boy won Grammys. Rolling Stone recently declared Wizkid's Essence as the best song of 2021, while the South African hit song Jerusalema soared up the global charts in 2020. What is it that we describe as African music today?
The first thing I think that we have to first of all do is take ownership and understand that when the enslaved Africans were taken to the New World 500 years ago, one of the primary things they took with them is their music, as well as their talents, their knowledge, their innovation, and their sciences that they brought to the New World, whether in Latin America, the Caribbean, North America, Europe. And from that, you see the evolution of music in those places influenced by the Africans. That music becomes jazz, ragtime, gospel, blues, reggae, hip hop, funk, soul. So the thing about our music is constantly journeying across the Atlantic and has done that for the last 500 years. So African music is always a fusion of traditional and ancient sounds with contemporary sounds. And we create this soup, and out of Nigeria, we do this all the time. Everything we touch, we affect it somehow. And whether it's Amapiano from South Africa or hip hop from America, by the time we touch it, it becomes Afrobeats. Because that's what happens. We domesticate other people's sounds and put our own flavor into it and bring it out again. But Afrobeats is just one of 1,000 genres on the African continent. It just happens to be that it has a particular energy, and it also comes with youth culture that is globalizing at the same time, which I think is why you hear more about that. And I think also Amapiano coming out of South Africa is having a huge impact right now.
Walter, you know, music is a vast world. There are countless genres, sub-genres and styles, from, you know, world music to rap, from rock to jazz. How do you rate African music today, especially on the global music scene?
You know, what happens these days is because of social media and because of the globalization of music, people are listening wider and wider and wider. So all musicians, myself, I take myself as an example, I listen so wide, and subconsciously the music that I make gets influenced by many different cultures. So now to define genres becomes more and more difficult. And you find a melody that you write today was influenced by a specific root sound. A rhythm that you do today is influenced, and then you combine that with other ideas. So it's actually becoming very hard to kind of say where African music is in the world, because it influences all the genres.
So, DJ Abbas, we've heard that African music is gaining so much popularity now, and over the past few years, global music services such as Spotify and Apple Music have expanded into the region. Talk to us about the role social media and streaming has played particularly, and how it has become the game changer for African music, or has it?
Afrobeats right now, which is pop music of African extraction, or perhaps West African extraction, before it got the umbrella term Afrobeats, it's always been there, you know. But then when it got the umbrella term Afrobeats, now there's a box it can be put in. Before then, even as a DJ, loading up some of my mixtapes onto some of these streaming platforms, from SoundCloud to Mixcloud, you know, once you load your mix and you're trying to categorize it, you find that there's actually no box you can put it in. And the best you can probably see is Afro International or Afro Continental, you know. There was no umbrella title. Now we have the umbrella title. And while you talk about the streaming platforms, you know, at the moment, they only mainly cater for Afrobeats. That's where the eyeballs are. That's what's interesting everybody. And why we say Afrobeats is, I define it as pop music of African extraction. Do South Africans feel the same? Because now they have Amapiano, you know, which is kicking off, you know. Before then, in my definition, before Amapiano, I would say, oh, Kwaito was part of Afrobeats. But then they probably wouldn't add that right now. So even the term Afrobeats is changing on a day-to-day basis.
Right. Obi, you've previously said that, you know, Afrobeats is more than just a music genre, rather it is a culture. Could you expound on this?
Yeah, I think it's just about what we're saying. I think Afrobeats, as Abbas says, is the pop sound of Africa, right? Even though coming up, as Abbas knows, I used to DJ as well. So when I hear pop, I'm kind of negative towards that because I think more about hip hop. So I like to say that what happened with Afrobeats and why the videos all look like hip hop videos is hip hop took the world and hip hop took Africa as well. But everywhere hip hop went, it had to be domesticated. When we domesticated hip hop with all our own inflections and our own music and sounds and languages, it became Afrobeats. And what the journey was the journey to find a name for the category, because we didn't want to be formatted with world music. But as you sit here today in 2022 going forward, we don't now want that formatting to become a block for other sounds coming out of the continent. And I think, you know, you do have to give respect, because Kwaito was massive in Southern Africa. The sound out of DRC, you know, that whole sound out of DRC Congo and the Dombele sound is enormous. You know, the sort of the SA house movement with people like Black Coffee is enormous. You know, and the North African, the Maghreb, and what they do as well is huge. So it's, you know, Africa, like you said yourself, is 54 nations. It's massive, and the diversity is enormous. The diversity in Nigeria alone is enough for a continent. But the thing about it is, I think what we're really seeing happening right now is that with this convergence of social media, access, and a young demographic, African flavor, content, fashion, food and music, and movies are globalizing at a high speed. And that's simply because we have something that the world is interested in, we have something that's original, and we've got something that's hot, and it's great.
DJ Abbas, you know, as a DJ in the diaspora yourself, I mean, how much support do you get from Africans in the diaspora? What role do you see the diaspora playing in the growth of African music?
Unbelievable. I think that's even an unfair question to ask a Nigerian, because we're a nation of 200 million people, and anywhere Nigerians are, you would hear about them. If I was just to use Nigeria to start within the UK, there are rough estimates of anything between 15 to 20 million Nigerian diasporans across the world, you know. And in the UK, you hear estimates of about 1 million, 1.5 million. If I was to put it into context, you know, the biggest indoor venue to host venues is the O2 Arena in London. And as we speak, there have been about 7 sold-out events featuring Afrobeats acts, 4 for Wizkid, 2 for Davido, and 1 for Burna Boy. You know, that's 7. And they're doing the same thing in Paris at the Encore. Just the Burna Boy just sold it out twice, and Wizkid just sold it out once. You know, that's another 20,000 capacity venue. We're talking festivals now across Europe, you know, from Afro Nation to the Yam that Obi alluded to previously. And these venues are selling out, you know. Predominantly with Africans and obviously non-Africans who are also like enjoying this new sound and flavor. This diaspora has been very, very important in selling Afrobeats and African music to the world, because it starts with that second generation, third generation African, you know, who are now beginning, who never had the opportunity to go back to the motherland, but then they listen to this music at home. They have friends who listen to it, then they take it to school, and you have other audiences. So I think first and foremost, beyond social media, the African diaspora has been more responsible for also pushing the genre and the culture beyond where it was a few years ago.
Walter, you know, there's been a lot of, you know, success for many African artists on the global stage. And the Grammys, though, you know, one of the measuring cans here, have been criticized in recent years by many prominent or some prominent artists who feel that black artists have routinely been passed over in the top old genre category. Walter, you have received a Grammy Award for your album, Winds of Samsara. Do you share these concerns?
A couple of years ago, I did share this concern, but the Recording Academy has actually made huge steps to move in the direction of including more diversity. And being a member of the Recording Academy, I've been witnessed exactly how much they've done. They've you know, if I look at this year's nominees, for example, there are many more diverse nominees and winners than before. And they've really taken an honest and genuine and a very good attempt at kind of redefining the voting members, because how this works in the US, mostly in the US, there's around 12,000 voting members. These are musicians, engineers, and producers who vote. And they've taken some steps to make sure that those voting community is more inclusive. And that has resulted in a more inclusive nominations list and winners list.
DJ Abbas, let me get your view on this. I mean, this feeling that you know, the Grammys being criticized in recent years. What's your view?
The Grammys, while recognized globally as an award, is an American award. Walter has alluded to the Academy members, which comes about 12,000, if I heard you right, you know. But then these are mostly Americans as well. How familiar are they with African music? And this is now talking from the African perspective now. How familiar are they with our music? And who are the influencers in America? You know, the typical influencer will be the record label, because virtually every artist that is nominated for the world music, or the now global music category, appears to have either a US-based record label or European-based record label, perhaps with the exception of South Africa, that's very developed in terms of the organization of music. So if you don't belong to a US label or European label, or perhaps a South African label, what are your chances of getting nominated? Slim to zero. So that's where my concern is. While the Grammys remains one of the most prestigious, if not the most prestigious music award to have, you know, when it comes to that particular genre category of the global music and the newly added performance, you know, category as well, there's concern, and it just begs the question: how can that be improved if we're talking about the Grammys?
Obi, what's your understanding of what goes on inside the Grammys among the, the panel of judges? And do you feel that, African artists are at a disadvantage here?
Yeah, I mean, Abbas basically just said it all. What I was going to say is that the journey for African music is very similar to the journey for hip hop and a lot of black music in America itself, where diversity has always been an issue. So black music never really got full representation at the Grammys. So you can imagine it's even harder for African music to get full representation. So for me, I think it's partly what Walter said. We don't need to chase American awards, but they are nice when they come. So we don't diminish them, but we're not configured to chase them. And that's why when we were building the Afrobeats movement, we were not interested in world music or in those categories, because those categories cannot contain what we do or what we represent.
Right, we're going to wind up in a moment, and I want to get a final word from all of you. And DJ Abbas, what sort of support, though, do you think African artists require to consistently hit the global charts? And where do you see African music in coming years?
The African artist, needs to now start to see himself not just as a musician, but as a business person. That is absolutely key. Africa is disadvantaged in the sense that, it is still development on so many fronts. But like Obi alluded to previously, this is a journey. And part of that journey is not just understanding the primary bit, which is just the music, but then you need to also understand all the elements that tie it up. The business side is so important. And you have to have a global mentality right now. So I've just made this song. How can I get it out there? What kind of collaboration should I be looking at? Who should I be speaking with in South Africa? Who should I be speaking with in America? So the modern African artists should think beyond their initial scope, educate yourself in the business of the game. And where will African music be in the next few years? Trust me, the sky is the starting point. We're just about to explode.
All right. Obi, your thoughts?
No, 100%. I mean, I think we're just starting. People think, I try to tell the young artists all the time that I don't think we don't need anybody on the continent to be getting complacent about where we are. I think this is just the beginning of what we should be seeing into the future. And for me, what success looks like is when we see 10 artists from the continent who can actually fill an arena tour in North America and in Europe. Not just in one city, but can do 20 cities, 30 cities. Then we know that we're really, really affecting the mainstream. I think we are already. We're already the soundtrack, the coming soundtrack of the global youth. And that is a great place to be. And I think it's really about Afrobeats culture. That's why I say Afrobeats culture, not just the music, because all the other things come with it, especially through social media and dance.
Indeed, the sky is the starting point for African music. But that's all we have time for on this edition of Talk Africa. A big thank you to our panel of experts. In Lagos, Obi Asika, Africa cultural expert and founder and CEO of Storm 360. In London, DJ Abbas, DJ and media and entertainment consultant. And in Johannesburg, Walter Kellerman, Grammy Award-winning South African flautist, producer and composer. Remember, you can be a part of this conversation through our social media platforms on Facebook and Twitter. And you can watch this and other editions of Talk Africa on our YouTube playlist. To join us again next week for more of Talk Africa. From me, Beatrice Marshall, have a musical day. Bye-bye.